Welcome to Real Talk, Real Advice and Real Difference. I'm your host, Najib. And in this podcast, we bring you conversations from leading experts with experience, stories and advice to help you become a better person, a better agent, and help the community and the industry for the better.
I get liberated by people like you. So my goal with this podcast is to bring people like you to have real conversation, give people real advice to make real difference in this industry. Tommy, you're one of the best agents of Australasia. Tell me more about yourself. How did you get into real estate from start? Let's go back to 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, so I graduated school in the northeastern part of Adelaide, only about 10 kilometres from Adelaide CBD. And I ended up competing in an auction idol program where I was like a junior golden gavel competition. So a mini version of the Australasian competition that obviously a lot of the New Zealand agents and auctioneers have won over a number of years. And I was fortunate enough to win that whilst I was in year 12 at school. And then when I won that competition, I got mentored by Phil Harris throughout that period of time and got to know my future business partner, Phil Harris. And here I am 10 years later, a business owner with Phil and selling a large number of properties, consistently over 150 properties now for a good 6-year period. So doing large volume, average sale price of between $500,000 and $600,000, and very much concentrated on the market where I grew up in the northeastern corridor of Adelaide. So selling just mums and dads properties. And I love the actual auction process, but 2 or 3 years was very, very tough. Absolutely. Extremely tough. And as everyone knows in this business of real estate, the first 2 years is all about survival. Once you get through the first couple of years, you can make it work.
Tell me, before you said your future business partner, who is Phil, a dear friend of ours, you said you started working with them, and that's when Harris was only a small organization, right?
So we started in 2009. I worked in a traineeship in the largest independent company at that time, and that was called Toop and Toop Real Estate. They still exist today, but from that point of view, Phil decided in 2009 that he wanted to start his own organisation, and in 2010 he began that journey. And we started with 3 shareholders, so he had 2 business partners plus himself. Now those 2 shareholders have now been bought out, and he's basically myself and Phil. But having said that, though, we started with 5 staff on the 5th of January 2010, and fast forward 10 years, we've now got 150 staff, and we've got a $20 million business. So Phil's done some extraordinary things, taken some big risks. I've just been the dollar producer. I've been the one that's been month in, month out, just producing revenue for the business. That's been my focus, whereas he's been more building the business, building the organisation around him.
And that's what I want to talk to you about, Tommy, because you said you've built from the ground up. And most agents here in Christchurch, they come into the business, Tommy, and what they do is they don't get direction, they don't get the education, they just dabble. Now tell me, if we took you back 10 years ago, number one, what was the benefit of being with Phil Harris? And number 2, how did you build the Tom Hector brand, which is now you sell 150 properties, 200 properties a year?
100%. So I think everything in this business of real estate, and we've spoken at length about this in the past, Nathan, is that real estate in general is not about selling, it's about listing. Because if you can't source the stock, you can't obviously move it. And more importantly, you need listings to survive. You need a list to last. Having said that though, in my earlier days, I soon worked out when I was 18, 19 years of age that I was a ferocious prospector, and I knew if I could prospect religiously day in, day out, people would start to know who this Tom Hector personal brand was. And then over time it built. But Phil gave me absolutely day in, day out, utter strength and determination to keep going. Because in those first 2 years, there's the resilience that you need when you get rejected so much and you get so many no's that it starts to play with your head and it starts to think you're not good enough and you think you can't do it. Whereas now, obviously it's a lot different because I've got such an abundance of listings and sales, and sure, I might have one slow month, but then I'll have a good month after that. So my business now is more about the longevity, but in the first 2 to 3 years, like any business, it's very volatile. So what I want to emphasize today is Phil gave me the resilience. He gave me the vision. He gave me the passive or the positive attitude to do it. Whereas I was very much skill set driven, which is purely and utterly around building prospecting, and then making sure my skills were absolutely perfect when I went into lounge rooms. So if I was prospecting for 4 or 5 hours a day, I was in a position to go and list that property.
Brilliant. Now, the difference between working for Phil in a big organization, what have you learned, the thing that you took from this leader of amazing organization, Phil? And I see so many similar traits in you that I see in Phil. So
probably the biggest thing I've found with my business partner, Phil Harris, is he can do it day in, day out, and he's very, very consistent about his behaviors. And anyone in this business of real estate knows that the problem we face is that you have a one good month, you might have one good week, you might have one good year, but to do it for a decade or 20 years now, like Phil's been selling real estate for 20 years and been in the industry for 20 years, and he's still so passionate about wanting to improve. Now, the best thing about Phil is he actually is a risk taker and he's prepared to go all in. And most importantly, he's very, very, very honest and a man of his word. And that's what people want in this business of real estate. Yeah. So he has got a number of people across Adelaide that would literally walk on hot coals for him, that they want to come and work for Harris Real Estate because we do the right thing by people. And we've spent a lot of money and time and systems in culture. So culture for us is absolutely everything here at Harris Real Estate. We've basically built a very, very good management team, and that management team works on a weekly basis to ensure that we are getting better each and every week at listing and selling real estate. But not just that, systems and procedures. We've got great systems and great procedures.
Yeah, you see, you need resilience to be able to carry in this business, and I've heard you before in the past that we talk about this, about consistency and how important consistency is. In order to do the consistency, you've got to get the mindset right. Can I get you to just elaborate on that, because I know you're big on that, looking after.
Yeah, so in the fight and the scrap and the chase is very similar to real estate. So from my perspective, that I was never a person that wanted to come second. I was extremely competitive, and anyone that knows me right now, I'm still extremely competitive. But what you got to understand is staying at the top is the hardest thing. I learned this from Matt Steinway going back in my early 20s. I listened to a video of his and he said, it's all and good getting to number one, but staying at number one is the hardest thing. But what I'm trying to do in my business now is definitely be number one, but more importantly, actually live the longevity of this business, because we all know selling 150, 180, 200 sales each year, regardless of which market you're in the world, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of persistence, a lot of dedication. And my ability now is more about the longevity versus not just a short-term approach.
Yeah. You've spoken about, I've heard you speak about, John McGrath shared that video of yours that you did for the team there. We actually watched it live, and you said about, I'm interested in being the best version of me. I love that. Why and how do you be the best version of Tom Hector?
So it's funny you say that, because every day I get out of bed and I say to myself, and I say to my parents, and I say to my friends and my team, I say, I wasn't born on planet Earth to be mediocre. I didn't want to be born on planet Earth to be just someone that coasts by and works from 9 till 5 and just gets by. I was born on this planet Earth to obviously want to be the best version of myself. And I know that I've got a lot of discipline. I know I've got a lot of mental resilience. So each and every day I get up and sure, there's days when I have rough days. I have very rough days, but there's other days where I'm very, very good. But now it's all about consistency. And from my perspective, Nathan, that's where I've had great success in this business, because I've been able to do it for such a long period of time, month in, month out. And I still love the thrill of the chase. Like I called an auction last night. I negotiated very, very hard. I've got a couple of listing appointments this afternoon. I've got a big day of opens tomorrow. So I'm 10 years on. I've sold a lot of property, but I still love the fight every day.
I just want to say this, like, Tom is only 30 years old. So he's not, sorry?
29.
29, I'm sorry. So you're going to be 30 real soon, right? Next year, you're going to be 30. So he's 29 years old. He started going to business 19-year-old, and he's become one of the best agents in the world, in my opinion. Like, not many agents will be selling 150, 200 houses, only with so much consistency and so much hard work. It doesn't happen overnight. But I'm going to take you back to where you started, what advice would you give to an agent who is just getting into business, or maybe 6 months into the business or a year, and it's not creating this momentum?
So the biggest thing you've got to look at, and this is probably what I've been in the last month, I'm not going to lie to you, the last month here in Adelaide's been very, very hard work. It's been literally going back to some of the beginnings for me. It's been so difficult to list property, to sell property. And that's because of the coronavirus. It's because of the uncertainty with what's going on in Melbourne at the moment. There's lack of stock. There's absolutely lack of stock on our market right now. So if you get the stock, it's going to move. So when you start in real estate, you've got to have the psychology as if you were going to university or you're doing an apprenticeship. For the first 2 to 4 years, at least for the first 2, you are going to work between 70 and 80 hours a week, if not longer, for little to no reward. And if you're not prepared to basically sign up for that and prepare to do that, well, I hate to say it, you're not going to have great success in this business, because nobody, and I mean nobody, is an overnight success in this business. And if they are an overnight success, they are going to come down very, very fast, because you can go up very quickly in this business, but you can come down just as quick.
Yeah.
Probably the most thing I'm proud of in the last 10 years of my career is I definitely grew very quickly, but then I maintained extremely well as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit frustrated in my business at the moment. I'm writing anywhere between 1.5 and 1.8 million the last 3 years. I would love to grow that, but it is very difficult in my marketplace with my average sale price to consistently keep reaching towards that $2 million figure, unless you want to work like an absolute madman, where I've been doing this 10 years. I'm more about the longevity and trying to work smarter, not harder. Because we all know this business is you get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. If you do the work, you do it consistently, I guarantee you will have success.
Yeah. There was a saying, Tommy, that I love this, says people get rewarded in public for what they do in private.
Totally.
So the work that you've done in private, studying and learning and prospecting, and then all of a sudden it's an overnight success, right? 10 years later.
So for me, in the first year or two, though, coming back to that question you just asked me, I got to the point where all these people I'd been ringing for such a long period of time, in that first year or two, all of a sudden, what happens? Your phone just starts to ring. Hi, Tom. I've been speaking to you now for a couple of years. Hi, Tom. You finally got the opportunity. I'm now ready to sell, because you've done that momentum. You've done that hard work. You might have met someone and open for inspection. You might have met them through a friend, whatever it may be. But once you get your database matured, that's where you're going to start to see your success.
Yeah. Consistency is the key. And also, like you said, Tom, it's important to be able to consistent and be successful for a long period of time. You need to get yourself right. And I'm big in that. Like, you've got to make sure you put aside time for yourself to get yourself right before you can go out there and serve. And that's what you do every day. Can you just talk to us about your morning routine and what it looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm very, very adamant at the moment about exercise. So absolutely exercise. But to be honest with you, I've changed my mentality a bit at the moment, because I'm working extremely well by doing lunchtime exercise. My business partner, Phil, has a gym behind our office. So I'm going to the gym in about half an hour for a very, very heavy cardio session today. That's from 12 to 12:45. I've then got 3 listing appointments after that. But in the morning, I'm more so journaling. I might make sure I wake up right at the right time. I'm not probably as adamant as you, Nathan. I'm getting up between 5:30 and 6 o'clock local time here in Adelaide. And then from there, I'm reviewing my day's diary. I'm ensuring that I'm eating well, right? I may go for a bit of a stroll around the block, but then obviously during the day, I'm exercising very, very effectively. And then I'm in the office by 7:30, planning my day, getting my day ready for my 8 o'clock team meeting.
Yeah. So that afternoon session, I'm sure, gives you that second wind, huh?
Absolutely. It's changed my life. I've been doing it now for 6 months. I'd still do exercise in the mornings, probably once or twice a week, but I'm doing at least 3 to 4 sessions a week during the day, and it breaks up the day perfectly. I love it, because but when you've been prospecting for 3-4 hours, you're a bit tired. You get up, have a good session, and then straight on the road, you're in listing appointments in the afternoon, and you're feeling fantastic.
I want to clarify one thing, though. I want to clarify one thing, and because people would think like, Tom, maybe he's got his parents in real estate, maybe he's from a royal family or whatever, but that's not the case with you.
Nothing. My dad was a banker for 30 years. My mum worked in wine marketing, and I started from the ground up. I had nothing. So literally nothing. Just started with a phone, a computer, and more importantly, a big work ethic, and didn't take no for an answer.
Amazing. That is that success story on its own. So that's the reason I say that I'll bring this up is because most of these successful people that I am privileged to talk to, when I need to talk to like yourself and all these other guys, most of them came from nothing. So if you can do it, and I can do it, and Phil can do it, and John can do it, anybody can.
Exactly.
It's just hard work. Now, exactly. I want to, you said something about never ask for business until you build that brand equity. I've heard you say that before, but I just want you to talk about that, if you will, because I know for 2 years, you did consistently prospect, call, and door knock, and then all of a sudden things started happening.
My psychology behind that was all about making sure that I just basically built relationships with people, but I'm never the kind of pushy salesperson that wanted to ask for the business. Are you ready to sell yet? Or when are you moving, etc. I was always providing as much value as possible. So my whole psychology was, it's Tom Hector from Harris Real Estate. A property on your street has recently sold, or there's been 2% capital growth in the market in the last 6 months. So just adding value, because I damn well know that people are remembering you and they are going to think of you when it comes time to selling. And it's about the touch points, whether it's a thank you card, a business card goes in the post to them, but being consistent with that. And then all of a sudden you're going to have success. But my philosophy is pretty clear. It's clean. It's concise dialogue on the phone, as I mentioned with John McGrath the other day. And it's all about basically not being that slippery salesperson, just being someone that's there for them when they need me.
Yeah. What does your call look like today? Like when you call somebody, what does it look like? What is
20% of my calls, or probably 80% of my calls, it's Tom Hector calling. It's no longer Tom Hector from Harris Real Estate. So that obviously builds a lot of frequency over a number of years. So hi, Nathan, it's Tom Hector from Harris Real Estate. Hey, just wanted to catch up. I know you mentioned to me a couple of years ago that you were contemplating a move. I just wanted to see if that's still the case, or you're still very, very happy there in Smith Street. And just let the conversation evolve, completely evolve. So it depends on obviously that purpose in the call, but for my philosophy is very, very clear. I want to basically make sure they remember me, and then if anything were ever to progress, I'd be thrilled if you remembered me. Or when the time is right, I'd absolutely love the opportunity to represent the sale. So I'm using clean, crisp dialogue. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. So concise, it's just to the point, not sound like slippery snack or salesperson, somebody who wants to add value to you in your life.
So never ever use the word touch base. Like, you're not touching someone's base. Like you're catching up with them. You just wanted to follow up and see how things are progressing. Or I use the word catch up a lot. But these things you might not think are a deal breaker, but when you're making a lot of calls and it's a game of inches. Like, I've been doing this business a decade. I guarantee you, I still have to fight, scrap, and chase for every single listing. I don't get given listings on a silver platter. I still have to fight and scrap. So if you basically are not on your A game, or you say something wrong, I guarantee you it could affect it big time.
Yeah. Touching base. People don't want the bases touched. They want to be helped. They want to be added value to. You talked about also about how important it is to be more of a work with looking after people rather than trying to make sales. What's the mentality behind that?
Well, that was fueled based upon my conversation I had with him when I first got into real estate. This business got nothing to do with houses. It's got to do with people. And the minute you actually just want to help people every single day and just do the right thing by them, people will come back to you and they will want to do business with you. Whereas most people chase the houses, they chase the people so consistently, and then all they want to do is make them have an answer. But you just got to do the right thing by people. And that was my psychology in the first 5 years. And then from there, it continues to come back to you. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. A guy got into real estate 6 months ago, Tom. What would you tell him? If you sat him down and give him a few things, what would be some tips that you would give him? Say, hey,
three fundamental factors I'd look at considering doing for them. Number one is any open for inspection callback sheet from the last 5 years of that office, or any orphan data from someone that's left that business, right? They're the people I'd call to begin with, and just try and build your database. So from there, I'd try and aim for a first name, a last name, a mobile number, and an email address. I'd then definitely get a patch of homes. So you'd break up your day between having your mornings prospecting, your afternoons prospecting in your marketplace. And then the psychology is pretty clear. You've got to absolutely saturate that suburb to the point where you farm it. So it's about like putting seeds in their mailbox, and then 3 years later, the flowers are coming out, because what's going to happen is they're going to start to know you over a long period of time. And then basically any opportunity you've got to convert that based upon having a great listing presentation. So it's about upskilling every single day. So between 9 and 12, you're in the office phoning people. Between 2 and 4 o'clock or 2 and 5 o'clock, you're knocking on doors in your service area. And then call at 5 till 7, you're out there telemarketing in your marketplace again. So just being consistent day in, day out.
That's absolutely amazing. The thing is though, Tommy, is it's important because you're a guy that's done it. Like this is not coming from somebody who's sitting in the office, has never done anything, and telling the guy to go and do knock. And the guy's like, you have never done knock ever. Like, why are you telling me to do knock? And that's what happened. The majority of people listen to a business owner or an office. The guy who's never done something wants somebody else to do it. It just doesn't make sense. But it's great to have somebody like you, and that's the reason I've got you here, and because you're actually the strategist. You've done this.
And don't get me wrong, there was days when you didn't want to do it, and there's days when you hate it. But you know what? It's just part of our job. And we all know that real estate's got nothing to do with selling, like I mentioned to you before. It's got to do with the prospecting. It's got to do with the listing. So we get paid large sums of money because it's very, very competitive, and it's very hard to source stock. We all know that. And that will never change. That will never change.
Yeah. Now with training, you've come to like you're a pro at what you do. What does training look like for Tom Hector?
For me now, not so much about real estate. It's more so much about leadership. It's more so about reading other books about.
Can I go back to where you started before you come to now? What did it look like to you back then?
I'll be honest with you. For the first 5 years, I listened to every single Hot Topics interview there was with Lee Woodward. I listened to every single John McGrath tape I could ever get my hands on. And then basically from there, I did the complete salesperson's course 3 or 4 times. And then that was basically my career. I just mimicked Lee Woodward's system. And for me, that worked. It was so tangible. The thing I liked about Lee Woodward, it was just so tangible to do exactly what he said. And it works. Put your own spin on the dialogue. It's the best dialogue you could ever imagine.
And then you've got an amazing mentor like Phil Harris sitting there and doing role plays with you and all those kind of stuff.
Definitely. But I just had the belief that the more you practice, the more you become better at it. And this business of real estate is extremely predictable. Every owner wants 10% too much for their property. Every buyer wants to buy it for the cheapest price. Every negotiation is going to take time. So what you have to do is become a skill at that. And that's exactly what you do. And the more houses you sell, the better you become.
Sure. So product knowledge, competence, and then confidence, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what does training look like for you today? Because we've got all sorts of agents been around for years, agents who just started. What does self-development look like to you today, Tom?
Not so much real estate, because obviously I've got such skin in the game now and I understand the systems, the psychology behind it. But it's more so about growing my team. Like I've spent a lot of time now wanting to grow and get better at becoming a better leader, because becoming a better leader will help my team grow, which is ultimately going to affect my business. They're going to produce more revenue for me. And that's what I'm spending a lot of time on. So one-on-ones with my team, reading different books about how can I get people better or work with people far, far better in my business. So Phil and I work very closely together and we read a number of books together. So it works extremely well.
Yeah. What's the book you're reading at the moment? I'm curious.
It's called the one. I've got this next. It's about a manager. It's a very, very good question, Nathan. I'd love to be able to tell you.
You can text me. We put it here. Have you read the book called In a Game of Tennis? Surely you have.
Oh, I've read half of that. I never finished it. I got to finish that actually.
An amazing book.
I will be on that. I will text you through that what I'm reading at the moment.
Please, yeah.
I can't recall. I've got a mental blank. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We can put it down as soon as you text it to me. Now, if you would say there was 3 things that got you to where you are from a 19-year-old kid, what would it be?
Consistency is number 1. Yeah, that's all about consistency. Yeah. Number 2 is upskill. So actually learning the craft. That's number 2. Absolutely. Because you got to learn the craft. Because I hate to say it, not enough people work on their craft.
Yeah.
And number 3 is basically attitude of gratitude. So completely having, or you know what, probably Tom Panos' best dialogue out there, make rejection your best friend. And that's what I did. I literally did that. Because consistency builds, obviously, database, builds listings, skill helps you list more property. And then we all understand that rejection is everything in this business. But if you make it your best friend, you know that it's never going to affect you. And don't worry, I've had my fair share of rejection. I still get it today.
A bit. You're such a generous guy. I know for your time here, and then we had you here for the Rise conference. I remember, I was only asking you once, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm on the plane." You and Phil came and supported here our community. And how important is being generous in this business? The abundance mentality rather than scarcity mentality, which is ingrained in agents for years and years and years.
An abundance mentality is something I've been gifted with by my business partner, Phil. And I just know that if you always do the right thing by people, people definitely might not come back to you. But the better you are to people, the luckier you become, in my opinion. I mean that. Like, it's happened to me so many times before. People remember that. And if you don't screw people over or you do the right thing by people, whether it's that person or somebody else hears about it, it will come back to you. It just will. It just will. It's God's gift.
Just doing the right thing by people. Tommy, I'm going to close it at that because I think it's like an amazing closing thing. Do you have anything else to add?
Oh, not necessarily. I think today's been really, really good to understand the psychology of real estate. Sure, we haven't probably dived into a lot of the fundamentals of a daily basis, but like anything in real estate, it's got so much to do with mindset. And if you can just be consistent, and if you're watching this video and you're having a bad month, you're having a bad year, or you want to write more business, just think of what I did in the first 2 or 3 years. And when there's a will, there's a way, and you're happy to reach out, and you can contact me on phone or email. I'm always happy to chat and talk about it. But don't get me wrong, I still have my bad days. I still am not perfect. I still have days where it's all getting too difficult. And every single day at the moment, I don't get gifted business. I don't get given a lot in relation to, sure, I get repeat clients and I get referrals, but no listing comes easy to me still. We all know that the longer you're in this business, sure, it becomes more and more easy to obviously become successful. But at the same time, this business is what you put in, is what you get out.
I'm going to ask you one more question before I go. Your ideal day, I'm sure people are going to ask me about this, but I want to see what it looks like from the minute that you wake up until you go to sleep.
So basically, when I get out of bed, obviously, like I mentioned to you, I'll get out my journal, or I'll get out my diary out, and I'll review yesterday's, and I'll review obviously today. I'll write a to-do list. Sometimes I do that the night before, but I'm always programming what I'm doing for that day. Like I mentioned to you, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's not, because I'm going to the gym at lunchtime. Maybe it's a walk around the block. I get a coffee from across the road. I've got a coffee shop. I'll then come back. I'll jump in the shower. That spends about the first half an hour of my day doing that. I'll then jump in the shower, have some breakfast, always sit at my dining table, same spot, looking at the same thing. I might listen to some meditating music. So listening to breakfast, listening to some music. I love it. Just gets my day started, like just thinking. I'll have the same breakfast every single morning, 3 fried eggs, a half avocado and a piece of toast. And that's basically my breakfast. I'll then be in the office from 7:30 sharp. And then from there, I'm programming my day between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, while my team comes in about 7:45, 8 o'clock. Team meeting at 8 o'clock, team meeting until 8:30, 8:30 until 9 is calling all my active vendors. Sometimes I might call them on the way to work between 7:30 and 8, depending on how urgent that is, or I'll send them a text message. And then 8:30 till 9 is vendors, and 9 o'clock from 12 o'clock is calling. I then obviously run 2 times a week. I have 12 o'clock to 12:45 is fitness class. 1 o'clock to 1:45 is a PT. So I have PT twice a week. And then after that is just purely appraisals, or it's back in the office making more calls. And that's basically my day. It's super simple, very simple.
Oh, wow.
Thursday night auctions at the moment. I'm considering going back to Friday auctions. Saturday open for inspections. Sunday off. Sunday is purely relax day. And then Mondays is obviously the biggest follow-up day for that. But appraisals between a 2, a 4 and a 6 o'clock any day at the moment, but preferably Tuesdays, Thursdays and Wednesdays are my biggest listing days.
I just want to say thanks for your time. Now, this is real talk, real advice. We're going to make a real difference together. I can't get better than this, Tommy. Thank you for your time, my friend. And I'll see you around. Hopefully, as soon as the borders open, I'm coming to see you guys.
Mate,
you come here.
Absolutely. Would love to come across for a holiday, mate. Really, really loved Christchurch last year. So definitely want to get back and explore more of it. So thank you very much for your time. We'll keep in touch. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate your time.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.